pleasant good day to you and yours, and welcome to Voices for today, the 23rd of January, February, March. Give me a break. I take my days one day at a time. Ask me what yesterday was, I won't remember, but I'm alive and I'm here today. That's basically how I live. Anyway, it is a pleasure to be here. And we're going to get into Voices for today. There are a number of things that we can discuss. What is happening around the world, what is happening in the Caribbean region, what is happening right here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Like I said, many different topics. You've got SSZ, you've got the government telling businesses to relocate expeditiously, and businesses, some of them at least, saying they're going to resist. You've got our Prime Minister saying he's going to be taking a contingent around the world. So many different things. But before anything, let me go straight to the phone lines and say hello. Okay, missed that caller. Sorry about that bit of distraction there. Hello, caller.
Grand rising to you, Quint.
Yes, good day to you, Journey. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You know, it wasn't easy. I tried to get in on Island T, but it wasn't easy at all. Quint, yeah, there's a lot we have to discuss. There's so much to talk about right now, but, the Prime Minister have made contact with Nigeria and other African countries. But you know what caught my attention over the weekend, Quint? Two things. The president of Nigeria was in Britain, met with the king, and he kissed their hands, and then he sat down with the premier of the UK.
Yeah.
Now, there's an alliance that has been established in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. And when I listened to Bola Tinubu with that interview with the Prime Minister of Britain, it is beyond me, Quint. Former President of Ghana met with this guy who was with the former President Joe Biden. I think his name is escaping me right now.
Yeah.
I remember when President Nana sat and he was telling this, I think he was the Secretary of State in Biden administration, that it is perplexing. These are my words. I can't remember exactly what former President Nana said, that the alliance in the Sahel region was causing terrorism in the Sahel region.
Yeah.
Bola Tinubu just last week uttered the same rhetoric and given Britain, France, and America to come into Nigeria to destabilize the alliance that is happening in the Sahel region. Quint, in this 21st century, I don't understand. Life of me, I don't understand.
Journey, did you look at all of the pictures with the Commonwealth and King Charles? Did you see that picture where he had them pose under the portrait of King George IV?
No, Quint, I haven't seen that.
And you know the message that he was sending is because King George the Fourth, if you know your history, is the one who pushed England into colonialism. You can call him the father of British colonialism. And you know that Prince Charles has said, let bygones be bygones, we must forget the past, and they're not going to pay reparations, he has said as much. So here he is, and this shows you how, and people take issue with when I make statements, but I don't sit here and lie. I tell you the truth. I tell you the truth that not only I can see, but the truth that you can see for yourself. And it shows the ignorance of our Commonwealth and Caribbean leaders that here's it. It shows you their lack of knowledge of history, where you're going and you're speaking about you want reparations from a kingdom that has exploited you, and the king puts you to pose with him under a portrait of the founder of colonialism, and you're there smiling, and I mean, look, young people.
It was done deliberately.
It was done. It was done deliberately, and look, young people, you are the future. Our present day leaders are lacking. They are lacking tremendously. They are lacking horribly.
Yep.
Wow.
They're they have become dogs of a king, Quint. Respectfully, I have to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it. They have become dogs of a king. They are no longer going along to get along, Quint. Now, the European Union have met last week as well, Quint. And the hypocrisy. This is why I don't understand why we are aligning with them, Quint. I don't understand why we are aligning with them.
I also don't understand why an ambassador from Burkina Faso recently went and had a sit down and with in the US and was speaking about certain things, even though the things that he said I agree with, because he was very strong in terms of his statements, and he let it be known that the breakdown of those states that are now the Sahel states came because of the assassination of what's his name there?
Thomas Sankara?
No, Libya, the leader of Gaddafi, yes. Because after Gaddafi was killed, all of the arms stockpile that Libya had, just all kind of rogue people just took them up, and they used them to cause all kind of disruption. So even though I agree with his stance in terms of his representation verbally, why are you sitting? Look, the United States has no good intentions, and Europe has no good intentions for Africa.
But yes, Quint, I agree with that. Because you see, now, the Europeans met last week as well, and they are calling for Niger to reinstate the former president, who is now under house arrest in Niger, Mohamed Bazoum. Now, when I look at Mohamed Bazoum, I did some research. He's Arabic, right?
Yes.
And he was holding France interest over Niger.
But that is
Nigerian people.
But that is what they
and
want,
now they met to... Sorry, go ahead.
That is what they want, Journey. Right now, if you look at the Sahel states, you see their states functioning properly, they're dealing with their commerce, you don't see any terrorism happening, but yet still the West and the United States is saying, oh, well, they're causing disruption. And we can see and we can hear, and we're just going along with them. So what they're going to do, as long as you don't do what they want, and what they want is that they must come and control your resources. As long as you don't do that, they will do everything to cause disruption. And then when your people are dying in droves, they won't say a thing because they have what they want.
Yeah, and with the President Bola Tinubu in the UK, he is creating that gateway now for military forces to come into Nigeria to go and whether to assassinate or to disable, to create chaos in the Sahel region. I mean, How is it that they can't see that the unity that is taking place in the Sahel region is the model for our liberation? How can't they see this?
How can and Journey also? How is it that our Caribbean leaders can't see it either? How is it that our Caribbean leaders cannot understand that until Africa reaches a level of autonomy, the Caribbean will be forever trampled under the U.S. feet? Look what the U.S. did. The U.S. came down here and put ships down here and started killing our citizens without any proof of them having drugs and that kind of stuff. And our leaders, up to now, I've not heard a uniformed voice saying, we demand an investigation into what you did because what you did is wrong. None of our leaders have the guts to do that.
But not only that, Quint. No, they are calling for, the European Unions are calling for Mohamed Bazoum to be reinstated into Burkina in Niger. Now, the hypocrisy, America went and kidnapped what's his name in Venezuela. Where was the European Union? Where were the voices? But they are calling for a man who kept Niger in the dark by supplying uranium that kept Europe.
Let me ask you this, Journey. You see what happened to Maduro? How they took him out?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you aware that the very same thing that they did to Maduro recently so that they could control the oil, Venezuelan oil, is what they did to Iran way back that caused all of the friction that we're now experiencing today?
Quint, and this go way back, Quint. Way back. I can't
way back.
Yeah.
They had a leader. They had a leader who decided we want to control our resources. Prior to that, the West, Britain, the US, everybody was just using Iran's oil, using their resources. And this leader, all he did, mind you, was say, we want to control our resources and you pay us market price. And they took him out. They took him out and put in a tyrant there who let them get all that they want. And it is the young people of Iran who revolted and overthrew, and that person ran away. And this is what they're doing. And so we're seeing a repeat of history. This is why I say to young people, especially young black people, and let me put the emphasis on black. People hate when I say black because we live in a world today where white are just doing all kind of nonsense and we're supposed to just accept it. And if we say we're black and we're proud and that we will not accept this nonsense going forward, people have a problem with it.
Quint, last year I said every other nationality, every other race are becoming more of themselves. But black people today, Quint, we are becoming them. Because we are not recognizing who we are and we are not even allowing them to know who we are. So Europeans are more Europeans. Chinese are Chinese. Indians are Indians. But when it comes to the black man, Quint, we become like, as you said, an Oreo cookie.
Chinese are not
black on the outside.
Listen, Journey, Chinese are not really Chinese. I hear what you're saying, and Indians are not really Indians. I'll explain it this way. Chinese are Chinese because they have a stance, they have an economy, they're pushing. But go back into Chinese history and you see that the origin of China is black. Go back into
we are the origin. I understand that.
Yes,
I understand that.
Go back into the history of India and you realize the origin was black. But this is why I say China is not China. For China to survive, China had to move away from its blackness, to deny blackness and get as close to white as possible. The same with India. In China, they despise black people. In India, in Indian culture, they also despise black people.
Yeah, and this is why I say, for those of us who like to say that they came from us, yes, we know the mother of creation was an African woman. And yes, they came from us. But Quint, looking at the history and how they treated us, Quint, even if we're going to say, well, let us educate them by letting them know that they come from us, you think they are willing to switch this system?
No, they're not going to switch
those
it.
who claim that they don't know that they came from us, Quint, and while we are saying that they came from us, when we educate them, Quint, are they willing to switch this?
We're not.
They're not.
When I make that
not
statement,
because it's going to disrupt their way of life.
when I make that
But yes,
statement,
this is why I'm saying.
Journey, when I
yeah.
make that statement, I'm not trying to educate them, you know. I'm trying to educate us. Because if if we realize that they came from us, then we will not be thinking that we are inferior. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. Because they have flipped the script on us.
Yes.
They flipped the script on us, Quint, because I said, they know who we are, but we don't know who we are.
Yes.
And look at what they put in their literature, Quint. They give us a book that says Acts and all of that. And this very same book they call the Bible, they give ready-made answers in the book. They gave us ready-made answers in the book, Quint, in their literature. And that is what's keeping us in the book.
And let me make this statement also, because there are those people out there who tend to feel that when we speak like this, we are pushing racism. We're not pushing racism. The people who have been pushing racism are the people who are keeping us in the position that we are in. And
exactly.
what they want is that we be silent on it while they keep trampling on our heads, and they control us into perpetuity. The question is, will we allow that?
Yeah. Now, Quint, let me just say this quickly and get off. Last week I said, I think I said something, I quoted a text in the Bible, and my responder, Gregory, said that I need to get my facts straight and all of that. But I just want to say this, Quint. Most of us that quote the Bible, including myself, we pull texts and quotes from the Bible. Because there's nowhere I can come and hear on a phone call and open a conversation on the whole Bible. So when Gregory said that I need to get my facts straight, I am aware that I pull texts and quotes from the Bible.
Yes.
We all do. All of us do it, Quint, especially those who are still stuck in it. I pull quotes and texts from it to highlight a point. Like, for instance, what I just said this morning, the Bible having ready-made answers for us. And we are going along with this blind faith, thinking, well, we're going to be delivered by the ready-made answers that the people who orchestrated these literature, Quint, they were brilliant at what they did. They give us a deity they call God, and God is so powerful and this and that. This God who created segregation said he came to his own people, a nation of Israel, and yet we never asked ourselves, well, is this the creator of humanity? And I know that my ancestors were before the Bible and Christianity and all of that. Yeah. So what happened to my ancestors?
Yeah.
And all of that was taken from African culture, African spirituality that they now have polluted and corrupted.
I'm going to have to take
and we swallow this hook, line, and sinker.
I'm going to have to take a break. I'm going to have to take a break soon. I'm going to have to take a break quite soon. But before you go, the Bible, even the Bible, everything that they're using came from us. Even the Bible.
Exactly.
The Bible, and look what they did. They took the Bible and they took away all of those things those statements that showed that all of those prophets and so forth were black, and they put it in their form. And when you go into their churches, you see Jesus Christ, and you see Jesus Christ as a white man. So let me ask the listening audience. So when a race does that, take an original literature that they know came from black, and then spin it and then represent it from whose races?
Right. But and quickly, now they tell us Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream. Interpretation of dreams was African folklore.
Yes.
When they tell us Jesus creates miracles, but never go into elaborate how he created these miracles, but he just did it. Which was African rituals that Africa had the ability But they nice up a word and say it's a miracle. And they tell us Jesus spoke in parables.
Yeah.
And this is where we're at, Quint.
Yeah.
You know, it is. I can't find the words, Quint, but, you know, everybody's in this.
Really and truly, we as a black people, we are in a sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Quint. Thank you for hearing me, man.
Found the sound 98.9 WINFM.
More than 42 million cars from 19 different car companies are being recalled for faulty airbag inflators. Repairs are fast, easy, and free. The problem isn't with the airbag, it's with the airbag inflator. Because the inflator can rupture, shooting shrapnel through the airbag, which can cause serious injury or even death. Don't risk it, fix it.
Please contact TDC Automotive Division to find out if your Toyota vehicle is affected by the Takata airbag recall. Visit or call us at 465-2511 in St. Kitts or 469-5430 in Nevis.
Right near you. Ramsdale good food people in store specials for you. Ramsdale good food people. When you need better service, Rams is always here. Better value, better prices. Rams is always here. We want your loyalty. Rams is always here. We are community. We are family. We are family.
And I'm back with you. The time is 10:34. Well, you know me, and when I get here, I mainly want to speak to young people, because with the state of our Caribbean and we as a black people scattered across the globe, if we continue to move this way, we're going to we're not going to be wiped out, because our numbers and something about how we were made ensures that we will continue to exist, but we will forever be exploited and used by others. Now let me sort of segue here and go into something that deals with what is happening and bring it more home to what is happening in the world and how it can affect us as a people in terms of security. You hear security, and you hear the U.S. is offering security here and there, and Europe is offering security here and there, and what we see in the security that they offer is chaos, mayhem, destruction, right? We saw Israel disseminating Palestinians by the thousands, and the world just watches on, and all we heard was rhetoric. Well, let us look at us in the Caribbean and what is happening. And if this war in Iran ceases, don't think that they won't come back and revisit the Caribbean. This thing that they started in the Caribbean, they're going to come right back to it in maybe perhaps slightly changed forms, but their intent is to make sure that the Caribbean gets the message that the world, the West, wants control. Okay? So I'm going to play this clip, and I want you to listen to it carefully.
They are saying it now. Agriculture must be on the front line. Could you imagine that? But here's the real question for CARICOM leaders. Why is CARICOM only realizing this in 2026 when the crisis is already here? Food prices are rising, imports are skyrocketing, and the Caribbean nations still cannot feed themselves. Absolutely no progress. This is decades of failure catching up at this point in time. And they have admitted it without saying it. Because at a major regional lunch, CARICOM's chair, Terence Drew, made a stunning statement. He says agriculture must no longer be treated as a by-the-way activity. It must be brought into the mainstream. It is critical for survival and food security. That is what he said. If agriculture is only now being put into the mainstream, what was CARICOM doing for the last 30 to 40 years? Tourism first, imports first, foreign dependency first, and agriculture left behind? This is a $6 billion failure, you know. Caribbean import billions of dollars in food every single year. Why was the region importing so much food in the first place? Why weren't we not producing our own decades ago? So it's no longer an economic issue, it's a national security failure. Because now you have global supply chains collapsing. The Caribbean will starve. CARICOM leaders are now ruling out agriculture insurance program like one they said called REAP. Why? Because farmers can lose everything overnight from one disaster. But there's some truth they must add to that. Hurricanes have always existed. Climate risk was never a surprise to anybody. And farmers were always vulnerable. Yet only now, CARICOM is trying to de-risk agriculture. This is a reaction. It's not leadership by any stretch of the imagination. They are decades behind the wall. Other regions invested in agri-tech. They built food sovereignty and they modernized farming system. The Caribbean did what? Debated. They delayed. They depended on imports. Even now, CARICOM is still trying to standardize agriculture trade. They're still trying to build insurance system and encourage investment, according to Mr. Drew. These are things that should have been done in the 1990s, not 2026. But this is going to lead to real consequences, because of this delay. Food prices are rising across the Caribbean because of what is happening over there. Local farmers are already underdeveloped. Youths are not entering agriculture as they should. And the region remains dependent on foreign supply. And then suddenly, CARICOM says agriculture is critical to survival. But survival was always on the line. They just ignored it. It is a hard shoot that nobody wants to talk about. But let's be real here. This is not a breakthrough moment, This is a late realization that after decades of neglect, CARICOM did not suddenly discover agriculture. The crisis forced them to admit the truth. And now they're playing catch up in a world that is already unstable. So the next time you hear agriculture must be on any front line, you must ask these leaders something. Why wasn't it always there? Who made the decisions that led us here in the first place to begin with? And will CARICOM move fast enough before the next crisis hits? Absolutely not. And if not, the Caribbean will keep paying the price for leadership that reacted too late. Too late, too late shall be the cry. I do not understand in this 21st century when many of these islands were producing food enough before that we could have been interdependent among ourselves just in case you have an issue arising outside of our domain. In 2026, we can't do that anymore. We have to import shame and disgrace. And that is why I call these people, not leaders or presidents in this region, town councillors, mayors, and governors overseeing the plantations for their masters.
And if I had said that final statement, there are many who would say, wow, look at what Quinn said. But the man is telling the truth. Food security is national security. It is pertinently relevant to the security of a people. If a people do not have food to eat and they have all the cars, they have all the fancy houses, they have all the jewelry. They can sing all the songs, and for instance, our Prime Minister says he's going to be taking some creatives. You can have all the creatives in the world. I have nothing against the creatives because I myself am a creative. But creatives cannot survive and exist without food. So the question is, should not the emphasis be put on agriculture to the extent where as soon as possible, we know this isn't going to happen overnight, but as soon as possible, we are in a position to feed ourselves. Because if we cannot feed ourselves and a chaotic thing happens and those ships don't come here, you know what is going to happen? Security has gone down the drain. Because you know the old saying, the will of man to survive. And when hungry hits and individuals don't have food, individuals will do whatever they can to get food to eat. It is an ingrained instinct for survival. Hello, caller.
Yes. Good day, Quinn.
Good day.
Yeah. Right. You know what is so concerning about that clip you just played? It is entirely possible. It is entirely doable. Guyana has done it. Guyana can feed itself.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse for the others not to be able to do it. Right? And, you know, I think there has to be a realization, not just that it's an imperative now, but it's a local imperative.
That's it.
Each of the islands should be able to come up with a way to reduce its import by local production. Right? It's not a case, I mean, it's no point abandoning the containers from Miami or wherever they come from to replace them with containers from Africa or South America or wherever else they could come from. That won't do it.
It won't do it.
Right. You've got to concentrate on your local agriculture. Okay? And I'm not so sure that
So let me ask you this. And I know when I sit here I ruffle feathers, but you see, I feel that the mediums and the various media houses, they have a job to do, and I feel that they have been lacking. They have not been doing it. I feel the media houses feel that they must look for soft topics and not the topics that are relevant to us as a people advancing. So the question then becomes, why is it that rather than saving money so that we can invest in food security, which is an extended tentacle of national security, why is it that our leader feels that he needs to spend money on globe-trotting? And let's say that he's been given this money by some external forces. Has he been given this money and he was given a directive that we give you this money and you must use it specifically to travel around the world? Or has he been given money and a prudent leader says, okay, I've been given this money and I'm going to utilize it for food security and then I'm going to deal with the creatives? What do you feel about that?
Well, even if he has been given money, right, as we all know, everybody knows that there's no such thing as free money. Nobody can just give you money just like that for you to go and ship somewhere, and there's no returns for it. Okay? And it's important that you know what you're getting into. Right? Because you see, hello?
I'm here.
Yeah. When you look at the Caribbean response to, let's say, what has been happening recently in terms of geopolitics. Well, it's two things we should look at. The first, look how easy it is for the old colonialism and imperialism and so on to become fashionable again.
You understand?
Look at the state. I mean, just easy, just like that.
Easy, just like
within
that.
the space of a couple of decades. You know, nobody would have thought that that could ever happen. But look at it happening right before our eyes, and in such a short space of time.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is, look how easy it is for our leaders to just climb up.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to say, okay, we are pressured. They are pressured into whatever policy there is, whether it is discontinuing ties with Cuba or accepting deportees or whatever the policy is. It's one thing to say they're pressured into it, and everybody can understand pressure, right? It is not that to expect them to resist, that they can resist particular pressures because
but Mr. McMahon, why can't they resist if the very same people we are being pressured not to associate with, the people who are telling us not to associate with them are associating with them?
But what I'm saying is, okay, it all ties in to the fact that, well, you can't feed yourself, right? Because remember, you know, it ain't just a matter of visas and so on, right? They control, if our food supply comes from there, they control what we eat, and that is basic.
Yeah.
That is absolutely basic, right? And so what I'm saying is, it's all well and good for the Caribbean leaders to recognize the quandary we're in. But what surprises me is that they won't tell the people, they won't come straight out and tell the people that we are being pressured. Okay? Instead, they won't tell the people, well, we don't agree with this policy, whatever particular policy they're under pressure to think. But we are being pressured. It's not coming out like that. Instead, they just climb up.
But why don't they come out and say
it? Appeasement. Simple.
Okay, so it means they're not coming out and saying it because they have been told, if you do what we say, we're gonna you can do what you want, you know. You can even if it means you're gonna exploit your people. They don't come and say it like that, you know, but that's what they say indirectly. Even if it means you exploit your people, even if it means you do what makes your people uncomfortable, we're not gonna come down on you. Just do what we say.
Right, but that's the whole point. I'm saying that they would do what they want to do anyway.
Yeah.
Okay? But at least come out and tell the people this is what we are up against. Because I doubt very much that they'll come and say, look, this is what we're going to do, and shut up. I don't think they tell people to shut up. It's our leaders decide, boy, we better shut up.
Yeah.
You know? Thinking that if they shut up, somehow what they're going to do would be any different.
But hear this. Let's use Iran as an example. They say, and we know that the main nation behind this is Israel. They don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. Iran says, we're not going to, because you're well aware that the leader who they killed, the leader in Iran, had decided he wasn't going to go along the vein of nuclear weapons because he saw the threat that it was causing and the problem it was causing towards them. And he knew even if they had it in their hands, there was a potential for it to be used. But they want to enrich uranium so that the uranium can be used just the way the rest of the world is using it for energy, right? And there was that negotiation. And it was going along quite well because recently that individual who resigned from the U.S., he said as much. So why is it then, if it was going along a certain way, America pushed the way they were pushing? Because it comes right down to America wants to control. And they want to control and have what they want when they want.
And they have the means to control. Okay, and that's critical, right? Because
Well, the means to
you could
control
want all the control you want, but if you don't have
the means to control is being questioned right now. We know that they're way powerful than Iran, but you see, Iran thought out this thing. How can you expect to attack? See how these people think. They think like this. When it comes to them and you attack them, all the rules go out the window. But when they attack you, you're supposed to be nice, and there's certain things you're not supposed to do while they kill you. So they're supposed to attack you, kill your leader, kill your family, kill your people, and the Strait of Hormuz, you're not supposed to cut it, stop it, because you're nice and you're diplomatic while they're killing you. This is how these people think.
No, the rules of war apply only to your adversaries.
Oh.
Your adversaries.
Okay.
The rules of war don't apply to you.
That's it. That's what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah. You know.
And you notice the very same oil that he said was being used for terrorism, so forth. He's selling it now. Yeah, he's selling it now, and he's selling it at market price. So you see the big contradiction? This is why I say to you young people who are listening, yes, enjoy life. Yes, work and get a good job. Young fellas, look for the nice wife. Think about a family. Young women, do the same. But while you're doing that, do not be unaware of what is happening around you in the world.
Yes, you're right. The young people should. But, Grant, with all due respect, you think that is what young people are preoccupied right now with?
But that is why I hear you, but that is why I cannot can we just throw up our hands and give up, knowing what it means for the future? When Journey was on, were you listening when Journey was on, when I asked him about the history of what happened to Iran? Are you aware that it is the young people in Iran who overthrew that Shah who was the young people? So we can't look. Young people will want to. I was young before I became old, and I was not aware of a lot of things. Yes, I was studying history, and I was more conscious than the average person. But I would be lying to you if I told you that I was serious about everything to the extent that I am, or I became over time. So give young people time. Give them time.
Okay. But at the same time, you don't want them to learn from mistakes.
I hear you. I hear you. That is why we're screaming out here. That is why we're the lone voices.
That is the way that we're going. That we have to keep learning from mistakes. And the tragedy is, like I said, look how easy it is to slip back into colonialism again.
Yeah.
And do we really? I mean, I guess the young people don't have that experience, right? And so they cannot relate to it. Okay, and I guess it would take the application of raw power again for them to understand.
Don't you think though that there are some young people who may not have been as cognizant or as aware, but don't you think that there are those of them who's watching what is happening and seeing where they could be pushed with their backs against the wall?
There probably are some.
Yes.
But the other problem, if you can look at some of the people who grew up with you, who are now leaders in a leadership position, who can shape, who has a lot of power and influence, you realize what has happened?
I hear you.
You've noticed?
I hear
they
you.
have become part of the status quo.
And that is why
there's nothing revolutionary about them.
And that is why we are so kind of irritated. Because we didn't expect this. We thought that you came from us and and you would
Right.
you would understand our
Yeah,
struggle.
I grew up with some of the most vocal, most strident people. To the extreme that they adopted the socialism and
Yeah.
one party state, this and that and so on, and then they just mellowed into into what do you call it?
A docile position, docile.
Even more than docile, they've just become apologetic even
Well,
for these kinds of positions to take,
But don't-
and they would ask
but-
you.
but-
They would ask you. The first thing they'll ask you is, "Well, what do you do then?
yeah,
This is what we face. Is what would you do?"
yeah,
know?
yeah. But don't you realize that that is part of the plan of the status quo, where you struggle up with the grassroots, and then when you reach a certain level, they embrace you. Mind you, they don't really like you, they don't really have use for you, but they embrace you. They invite you to their table, they sit down, they smile at you, and they say, "Look, you this is what you need to do now, because you have arrived. See, you can sit down with us. So be a part of what exists."
You use a nice word there, embrace. I would say bribe.
Well, I agree with you. That is a better word, but
it ain't just a matter of sitting at the table, right? There's the under the table thing,
yes,
deals that happen,
Yeah.
those are the things that we should be railing against.
yes, I agree.
know?
Yeah.
But it's a real
But Mr.
struggle.
McMahon, we are in a I who am a realist, I'm very concerned. I am very anyone
We all should be. We all should
Yeah.
be.
anyone
Because what it means that all the work that was put in between when we became independent and now
yeah,
is about to essentially be erased.
yes, yeah, yeah. Well, let's
So
take a
all
bit
of
of
us
a
should be concerned.
yeah. Let's
Okay.
take a bit of a commercial break, and thanks for your input as usual, and feel free to call back whenever. Yeah.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
It's the energy of we people, something pulsing inside. It beating every soul, a feeling we cannot It's always pushing us forward, the limit up in the sky. There's rhythm in how we flow, a rhythm that can't be denied. It's in the feeling in how we talk. It's in the meaning in our spot. It is the thing that sets us apart, who we are. Cause the rhythm of life keeps pumping. Together going strong, no matter what, we keep things flowing. For the people we will go all in. Our hands up in the sky, celebrate and come let your rhythm flow, 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 flow. Come let your rhythm come let your rhythm flow.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
And I'm back with you. The time, 1 minute moving away from the 11 o'clock hour, and so far so good. The discussion, like I said, look, I am who I am. I cannot change who I am. I am a serious individual who takes life seriously. I do not even though you might hear me say, I don't, ask me what yesterday was, and I can't tell you it was Thursday or what, or ask me, but I'm aware of life. I am aware of the importance of having life, and I'm aware of the importance of having a sustainable, comfortable life. And this, for us as a Caribbean people, is being threatened, and I am concerned about it. And if you're savvy enough, and you're looking towards a future for your children, you cannot be anything but concerned about it. Hello, caller? Okay. I would ask you to have some patience when I engage you. Don't just call, and as soon as it rings a few times, you hang up, because as soon as I see it ringing, I try to engage you. Hello, caller?
Yes, Quint.
Yes.
Good day.
Good day.
Greetings once more in Jesus' name. And I would like to say that I don't say it as often, but I should say it a bit more often. We need to become a republic and get out the British Commonwealth. And I think at least in one aspect, the quicker we get out, the better it is. Okay? Yeah. Now, first of all, I would like to make a few points quickly. First of all, I'd like to tell Johnny, as I've always been saying, it is the ancient Jews who God used to give humanity the Bible. The Europeans, Chinese, Indians, and everybody else, they just translated it. But originally, by the hand of God, God used the ancient Jews to give us the Bible. And because they were and still are the covenant people of God. And when I say that, those Jews who are in Israel today, that nation, they are not the covenant people of God today.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, but it is the Church of Jesus Christ, the true church, the true believers, who are the covenant people of God today, and really have always been, really. Now, saying that, food security really and truly is only found in obeying the Bible, because Israel and the other nations, they were self-sufficient. They could have feed themselves, and yet God brought famine on them for disobeying His word. Also, I would like to say that Mahan said we could not have been imagined we're going under neo-colonialism. Well, let me say, I am the exception to that, based upon the grace of God, via His word. Because God showed me through His word, which I've been saying for many years now, on the different radio stations, but lately, mostly restricted to WinFM lately, that the Bible says if we are disobedient to the Bible, God is going to make us to be the tail and the foreigners to be the head. And that is neo-colonialism or colonialism.
Yeah.
That is what it is. Simply, you're just saying it using different words. And I've been saying that over the years on different radio stations, but most lately over WinFM. So I was not ignorant to that. I saw that through the word of God by the Spirit of God. Now, when government bail out businesses, and especially big businesses that they do it to, they are making those businesses more irresponsible. And the analogy has been like this. If you go in a casino and you only have your money to spend, you would more likely, it doesn't always happen, I've seen the contrary happen, but more likely you would quicker be more responsible with your money than if I promise to bail you out every time you lose in the casino. You're going to be far more reckless. Okay? Most of the time.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel that in the case of this entity, whose name I won't call, that they recently got a bailout, do you feel that that entity doesn't make no profit whatsoever?
I believe so. I believe that they're making profit.
Because an entity as big as that has gone so long with all the different people employed, I mean, it baffles one to think that they're not making a profit.
But not only that, not only the different things that they apply, but unlike a lot of domestic businesses, they ain't paying the taxes. At least some taxes. At least, let me put it this way, they ain't paying at least some taxes because I think Richard Keynes used to argue that they ain't paying the hotel and restaurant.
And even the electricity bill. Because I remember hearing, may his soul rest in peace, that minister saying that one time he sent over there and it had gotten so bad that he said, go over there and and cut off the electricity.
I heard him too.
And when they went over, he said the management said, do that and tell your people, what you're going to tell your people when we send them home. So you understand the predicament where...
Right. So I mean, if they're not making a profit with all of these advantages, then, like Cleo said earlier, there really is a liability and not an asset to us, and therefore they're not a profit to us. They are weight and us thinking us.
And if they're not making a profit, and then the government has to be paying workers, then wouldn't it be better for them something to be worked out where the government then takes over the entity or gets someone else to take over the entity and run it profitably?
Because you use a weight and not sinking us.
Yeah.
Obviously something needs to change. But if you're going to be bailing them out, number one, they're going to have you hijack. There's a better word I want to use, but don't remember the word now. But they're going to have you at ransom because you're going to always have to be bailing them out. And in bailing them out, you're going to make them even more and more irresponsible in how they do things, and if they see they can be getting more money out of you, they get more money out of you.
See the maths.
So you always will have that albatross around your neck.
The maths is crucial here. 1 and 1 is 2. 2 and 2 is 4. 10 and 10, 20. So and forth. Right? Now, when governments get entities to bring business, investment, that is just what it should be. You come, you invest, and we garner something from it. But if you come and we're not getting from it, then is it truly a viable investment? Should it then be an ongoing thing? Those are questions perhaps we need to ask.
Yep. Yeah, but you put it nicely. Even worse, it's bad enough we ain't getting anything, but even worse, you're sinking us. You're a liability to us.
I have to
you're sinking us economically.
I have to put certain things nicely because there are those who feel that I am too harsh in my expressions. I am too strongly opinionated. There are those who feel that when I sit here, I am supposed and someone calls that the person is supposed to just, and I am not supposed to interject perhaps and say, well, so what do you think? Or does this not mean that? And I'm supposed to sit here and be a robot-like, you know what I mean? So you say something and I'm supposed to just reply, but I'm not supposed to try to open up the conversation to where people can be enlightened. I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah, what you say is the mentality, yes, the mentality. And let me say this. People are going to be more responsible with the monies of others than their own money. And this is what happened when your government bail out companies. You're just making those who you bail out to be more and more irresponsible once they can rely on you and are guaranteed by you that you're going to bail them out.
And I agree.
Also quickly, I would like to say.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, quickly, I would also like to say, now, one of the things were on the bucket list, which I started this morning. You remember let me see if I get the letters right. The MSR man?
MSR. I'm not too sure, but it sounds familiar.
MSR. The man
who was causing a whole lot of disruption not too long ago?
Right.
Okay, I hear you.
But remember, he originally came in to make a movie during the COVID shutdown, right?
Yes.
And from there, they got in contact with him and developed whatever friendship and collaboration and so with him. Okay? Now, one of the things I said I wanted to see was the movie that was made by his company.
Yes.
MSR. And so I downloaded it on my phone, and this morning I started to look at it. And I looked at most of it, but I had to stop it because I wanted to listen to Island Tea and your program. And when you're all finished now, I'm going to go back and finish it, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I saw something, and the movie name is The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid, that's the movie name.
Yeah.
And it came out, I think it came out 2024.
Were you impressed with it? Were you impressed with it? Are you impressed?
It is interesting. It is interesting. I would say it is interesting. The storyline also is interesting. I would say that at the most. I wouldn't recommend it in the sense that, to me, it seemed as though he had some nudity with a woman, but she was in a net or something like that, so he had to pick out. And I wouldn't recommend him to have nudity in it.
So you're saying you don't like to see the body of a woman? I mean, who man doesn't like to see
that? Not displayed publicly like that.
But you're watching it in the privacy of your home, Greg.
Well, I did not know that part was in it, but I let that part go because I want to see the movie. I didn't know that part was in it.
Okay.
And I don't know what the rest contain either. That may look at.
Yes.
But the movie is interesting. The storyline movie is interesting. Now, let me say this.
And before you go on, when you say nudity, there's a certain amount of nudity that is kind of like not a problem. They will let you see certain parts of the body, maybe just a glimpse before it goes. But you don't really see things like the breasts and the private parts and so forth, you know. But
like I said, but like I said, she was in a net, a fishing net. They caught her as a mermaid in a fishing net.
Yes.
So it's really difficult to pick out what is really what.
That's what I'm saying.
It appears to me.
Yeah.
It appears to me.
So don't get too agitated, Greg, because I'm telling you, as a man, I love to see. Honestly, I sometimes wish I could see more. Go ahead.
Well. To be quite right, to be quite honest with it. You know, I was most impressed with looking at my wife. So, hey.
Okay, I hear
you. know, as a man, I was most impressed with her, you know, because she's a beauty to look at.
Yes.
A great beauty, you know. But what I'm saying is that, in the beginning of the movie, okay, and I think he is sending us a message to us in his movie. I think he's sending us a message because in the near the beginning of the movie, he had to bribe a local person.
Wow!
Because his archaeology, because the star of the movie, his archaeology project, was being threatened, right, to being stopped by the authorities. So he had to bribe a man. For him to because he was working with the authorities, for him to go now with those others in authorities to convince them to turn a blind eye and let his archaeology project continue. So the man took the bribe money. Now, the same man who bribed the man, he also had a local fellow working with him as well, because he had a team of people working with him as an archaeologist. And he told the local guy, okay, I just had to bribe the man. I just had to bribe the man, you know, for the project to continue. And you know what the local guy said? Welcome to the Caribbean. So, in other words, I mean, I don't think it's just a move, but I think he's...
No, that is intentional. That they are not fools, you know.
Right.
They are not fools. They are not fools. You know the old saying, art imitates life and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I pick out, yes, it's a movie script, but he, through that movie script, is sending a message to us all.
Yeah.
That our authorities, leaders in the Caribbean, are easy to bribe. Anyhow, Quinn, take care. Bless.
Yeah. Yes. Let me take a bit of a commercial break. And when I come back, I'm going to play a clip for you. It's going to be on a slightly different tangent to the one I played before. It was steeped more in agriculture, but there's a link in terms of the Caribbean, Africa, and the world. Okay, so I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to take this commercial break, and I'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
What are you doing?
She said, drink a root boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh. She said, drink a root boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh. Cause when we out and we active, living we life. So when we drink, we drinking. Root boy. So when we drink, we drinking. Root boy. Oh, Miss Lady, anyway you see we building up our vibes. So when we drink, we drinking. Root boy. So when we drink, we drinking. Root boy. Why?
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
It's the energy of we people, something pulsing inside. It beating every soul, a feeling we cannot hide. It's always pushing us forward, the limit up in the sky. There's rhythm in how we flow, a rhythm that can't be denied. It's in the feeling in how we talk. It's in the meaning in our spot. It is the thing that sets us apart, who we are. Cause the rhythm of life keeps pumping. Keep things flowing. People, we will go all in. Our hands up in the sky, celebrate and come let your rhythm flow, 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 flow. Come let your rhythm come let your rhythm flow.
And welcome back. The time 19 minutes moving away from the 11 o'clock hour. And as promised, I'm going to play a clip for you. But before I do that, I like to at least say what the clip is about sometimes. And the clip I'm going to play now is related to one of the fallouts of what is happening in Iran and how it is affecting Africa, and in particular how it is affecting Rwanda, okay? And it is relevant to us in the Caribbean because I want you to listen to it keenly and listen to what is said by three individuals and think about how it links towards the Caribbean, what happened when that big aircraft carrier came down into the Caribbean and they were just killing our people. And no one around the world made a query, really, of those developed countries. And our Caribbean leaders, even more shockingly, just seem to have accepted it. So that means, I would assume, that if it was to continue or go back. And as a matter of fact, what really annoys me, is to hear the leader of some of our countries talking about drugs and stopping the drugs, and as if though it is an excuse for people to come into our proximity and just kill our people without proof that they were doing something underhanded. So I want you to listen to this clip and I'll get back to you after.
Sudan has been in an active civil war between Sudanese armed forces, the SAF, and the paramilitary group called the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF. And I need you to understand who the RSF is before we go any further. They are not just soldiers. They're a militia, the same militia that carried out genocide in 2000. The RSF has been accused of crimes against humanity, including the genocide of non-Arab populations. These accusations come from the International Criminal Court, Rights Watch, Genocide Watch, and the United States federal government. Their forces have killed hundreds of thousands of non-Arab populations, including sexual violence against women and children systematically, imposed deliberate starvation and pillaging of homes, hospitals, and even places of worship. This is an active genocide happening right now, and we've been talking about it for years. And if you follow the money, like I tell y'all to, you will find out who's funding this genocide. And that would be the UAE, who is also mentioned multiple times in the Trumpstein files. Right, the same country who has normalized relations with is not real. The same country that sits on the Persian Gulf. The same country that's been running weapons to the RSF. So here's where the Strait of Hormuz comes in, because the RSF's main sponsor, the USE, has been unable to deliver ammunition and fuel to its allies for 2 weeks. And the reason is because of Iranian strikes. The Emirati air forces are hiding right now because it's simply just too dangerous to risk. So basically, the UAE is too busy hiding from Iranian missiles to fly weapons to the RSF. So without supplies, the RSF is losing its main advantage: power, mobility, and weaponry. And the Sudanese army has launched a major defensive, taking full advantage of this window. So US and Israel bombed Iran. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. That in turn grounded UAE's air force. UAE can no longer send weapons to Sudan to continue a genocide. So the people of Sudan, who nobody in Western media is talking about or covering the active genocide, may finally get some relief. Not because America cared, not because the UN acted, not because any international body took action, but because of a chain reaction. This is how interconnected the world really is. That is why you cannot fully understand a conflict in isolation. You gotta understand all of it. You gotta see the whole picture. Reading is important, people. Research is important, people. History is important, people. And listening to voices from these cultures is important. And please keep in mind that the same country that's clutching their pearls because of what's happening in Israel right now and Tel Aviv, please remember that they were the same country that was actively ignoring and turning a blind eye to active genocide. They were not worried about it or clutching any handbags when there were weapons being flown to Sudan to unalive and grape Sudanese women and children. The USA has sanctioned Iran for decades, but it never sanctioned the UAE for actively participating in genocide in Sudan. Let that sink in. See, the UAE is an ally, so they get to have the label of partner. But Sudan is black, African, so it barely gets a headline. You already know why. So I'm telling y'all that the same war y'all think is just about it's not real and oil has its tentacles into a genocide happening in Africa. And the people doing the genocide are American aligned. The Sudanese people deserve their story to be told. Continue to keep your eyes on the Middle East and on Africa. And please remember, context matters. Truth matters. History matters. And consequences are not an attack.
That was beautifully said from Kiki. Now, the truth here is that the UAE allies with America. And so whatever America does is fine by UAE. Whatever UAE does is fine by America. And why do you think that UAE will be sponsoring genocide in Sudan? For those of you who do not know the backstory, the simple answer to this is that UAE wants Sudan's gold. And the best way to get Sudan's gold is to cause an internal conflict in Sudan. Having an internal conflict is going to aid them to keep harnessing Sudan's gold using the militia that they have been funding. That's the simplest way that I can explain the situation to you. So since UAE is after Sudan's wealth, Sudan's gold, they can do anything by implanting a militia that they fund. And this is the reason why the United States cannot even accuse UAE of what they were doing in Sudan, sponsoring this militia. America and Israel are the disciplinarian of the war. They have never for once talk to the unaliving and genociding that was happening in Sudan. The president of America didn't say anything about what was happening in Sudan. Why? Because it was their ally that was sponsoring what was going on. They didn't care. They didn't care about the life of the Sudanese because they were black Muslims. Okay? So when we tell you here that it's still about the color, you just have to understand this situation from the perspective that suits you best. But we have been seeing from time past that they don't care. When they see that you do not align with them, they deal with you. You know, the life of black people, it doesn't mean anything to these white, doesn't mean anything to these Americans. As far as they get to their goal, and that goal of theirs is to get as possible the resources that they can get. They don't care. Whether people are being unalived, whether people are being killed, they don't care. What they care about is the end result. And what is that end result? Them getting what they want. That is what they care about. They don't care the life that is lost because, of course, these lives that are lost are not one of them. They are black people. They don't care about black people. They don't care. These are the painful facts, the reality before our faces. The activities on the Strait of Hormuz today, the activity between Iran, Israel, and America today, is affecting directly or indirectly countries in the continent of Africa. That is a fact. And you know that if this war continues long enough, you begin to see the end of some militia activities in the continent. If this war continues, you begin to see that there's an end to kidnapping, all this Islamic State activity, all this militia sponsored by the West. You begin to see a clampdown on all these activities in the continent. Because the way at which they were receiving ammunition, receiving funding and logistics and strategy, it will not be like that. And they will want to go ham down for a while. Or the rate at which these things happen in Africa will be reduced if this war continues. The world is so interconnected that when something happens in one part, it has effects on the other part. It is the West that have been the problem of Africa in one way or the other. Even though Africa majority, they are the origin of their problems, the West contributes a lot in the situation. It shouldn't surprise you that these Muslim or Islamic groups that are terrorizing people are sponsored by non-Islamic states.
Crowds of people in Sudan are cheering as the army rolls through areas liberated from the RSF. The RSF is rapidly losing ground and the people of Sudan are taking their country back. The Sudanese armed forces are advancing, retaking key villages and towns, including Barra in North Kordofan, from the UAE-backed RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. The people of Sudan are fighting for their sovereignty. They are forcing out foreign-backed proxies. All because Iran's missile strikes on the UAE have been able to cripple the RSF. Iran's missile strikes on the UAE, their effective blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, has rendered UAE weapons shipments undeliverable, and the SAF has taken the opportunity to fight back hard. SAF drone strikes in Forabanga in West Darfur took out a number of RSF commanders and troops. These areas are actively being liberated. This is a major victory, but this does not end the genocide in Sudan. The RSF may be crippled, but it is still operational and it is still killing people. And the RSF isn't the only group killing Sudanese people. Genocide doesn't disappear if the RSF does. The SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces, is also killing Sudanese people. In the last month alone, between the RSF and the SAF, 200 Sudanese people have died. The SAF may be the lesser of two evils, but it is still an evil. The SAF is still complicit in the same structures of oppression, particularly in North Darfur. Under former President Bashir, the SAF was used to squash oppression and conduct brutal military campaigns against the Sudanese people. There are also still a number of different foreign actors within Sudan who are responsible for oppressing Sudanese people. So this is a win. The RSF is crumbling, but this does not mean the end of genocide for Sudan. Keep speaking up for the Sudanese people.
Yeah, so there you heard three young women. Young, I put the emphasis on young. And they're well aware of what is happening. So not all young people are ignorant of what is taking place in the world. There are a lot of young people who are enlightened Look at the state of affairs today. Did we hear Iran attacking and killing Palestinians by the thousands? No. But yet still Iran is being bombed. Iran is being bombed because it is assumed, let me repeat that again, it is assumed that they're trying to get atomic weapon, and if they get atomic weapon, it will be a danger to the rest of the world. But Iran has not been killing people. Israel has. But Israel is free. And as you heard there, because Iran decided, okay, you're supposed to be my neighbors and you're allowing all these bases to be here, and Iran starts to hit those bases, it has curtailed shipments into, when I started, I said Rwanda, but no. There you heard from the young ladies this specific place, okay? And we're not hearing that. Well, how is it that we as a Caribbean people who are mainly black people, how is it that we don't find these news? How is it that we find it convenient to only bring the everyday, day-to-day news? You're going to hear about sports, you're going to hear about World Cup, you're going to hear, which is good. But why is it that we as a black people don't bring the news relevant to us as a people and to our survival? Is it because, as Mr. McMahon says, we just have to appease everybody? So we're supposed to appease everybody to the extent that we don't even bring the news that says, here's a bunch of people being slaughtered. And it has been happening for years. And nobody is going to their rescue. Nobody cares about them. Why? Because they're black. And then you speak about people bringing up the facts of history and that kind of stuff, and then you want to suggest that we're racist? Well, who's racist? Look at the world, the established world, and ask yourself, who is racist and who has been practicing racism? And that is why, because we don't even bring the news that show what happens to our people across the globe, that is why they can come into our area and start killing our people. And we don't even have the guts to say, Lord man, what you're doing is wrong. Hello, caller.
Into our area and start. Hello, Quinn. Sorry about the radio thing. I just had to turn it down now.
Yeah.
Quinn, let me call back. There's the concerning the issue with Israel and Iran and the US and so, right? There is something that is very sad going on in the quote-unquote Christian world.
Yeah.
Many people are saying, do not criticize Israel, because God said, if you criticize them, if you curse them, you're going to be cursed, and if you bless them, you're going to be blessed. So don't criticize Israel.
And I hear that even right here. I hear people. I hear people right here in Saint Kitts and Nevis, but more specific. I hear church people say, Israel, they're God chosen people. Don't touch them. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't criticize them. Yeah, because God said if you curse them or you speak against them, you're going to be cursed, and if you bless them, you're going to be blessed. So only say good and positive thing about them. Yeah. No. In the old covenant, okay, when Israel, the nation, were God's people, the nation, because under the new covenant now is the church, because God said, I think in Matthew 23, I'm going to take away the kingdom from you, from the nation of Israel, and give it to another nation producing the footsteps, which was the church. That is all true believers. And I emphasize true believers. Now, even in the old covenant, okay, when Israel did wrong, the nation, okay, who was God's covenant people? The prophets used to continually come out and blast in Israel.
Yeah.
Blasting them, telling them how wicked they be and the need to repent and that sort of stuff. So I do not know where we get this thing from. Like I said, number one, they ain't God's people. But even if there was, let's just imagine that there were. It still does not make Israel immune
yeah.
something like that
Right,
from criticism when they do wrong.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, the Old Testament prophet used to so blast them up. It's like if you was there with the Old Testament prophet, you would tell the Old Testament prophet, man, ease upon Israel, upon Israel.
But hear this, Greg. Hear this. From my understanding, even though I don't follow the Bible and adhere to it to the extent that you do, from my understanding, it is because of what you said and the children of Israel not following God's word and the Bible that it was said that they would be in bondage. And
all kind of destruction will come on them.
That's it. And so we now find ourselves in bondage. You understand?
Yes.
And so if you really follow the trajectory of the history, it is us and not them. But it seems as if,
like I said, the true church.
Yes, but because you're trying to hedge, but I don't try to hedge like
no,
you.
I'm not.
That is why I say because I know the Bible too. You know, I might not adhere to it, but if you follow the Bible, if we follow the Bible, we are descendants of the true people of Israel. We, who because of our wickedness, you see, we as a black people, we don't like to, I tell you I'm a realist, we don't like to admit where we've been wrong. We've never been a perfect people. Humanity is not perfect. It is because of a lot of nonsense that we did not adhere to, if you follow the biblical thing, whether I want to completely adhere to it and say whether it was justified or not. But if you follow that trajectory, we are the people of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Quint. I think it's in John chapter 1, where he says, it is no longer by blood, flesh, lineage, that sort of stuff, but it is by the Spirit. And John said, you have to be born again.
That is what they use. That is what they use, Greg, and that is why today now you have a set of people who are not from the DNA lineage, and yet still they say they are the children of Israel.
Right.
You understand?
Because the Bible, because the church in the Bible were made up of both Jews and Gentiles.
Yeah.
So that's why John said, the Israel of God today is by the Spirit and no longer by flesh, lineage,
but I disagree.
heritage.
I disagree with that. That is why. Yeah, I know you stand on that, but I am saying that it is because of that why these people in that part of the world who were placed there have decided they are Jews. That is what I'm saying.
But the Bible calls them synagogues of Satan. Because in Revelation it says, you say you're Jews, but you're really synagogues of Satan. Because they're not obedient to the Bible. So they're really synagogues of Satan. Okay. And lastly, I would like to say, Quint. All that I said, those positive words that I made in pertaining to my wife, they are just understatements at best. Understatements, because the truth is far, far greater and inexpressible. So you could imagine.
You didn't have to go back there, but anyway.
But those statements were understatements at best. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So not everything that Greg says I disagree with. It's just that he's a staunch, he just follows a narrow line of belief that I do not adhere to. You understand? But there are certain things that he knows, that I know that he knows, that we concur with to a certain extent. Hello, caller?
Yeah, Quint.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, right? Hitler annihilated 7 million Jews that claimed they were Jews. Mm-hmm. You see why I said this morning, Quint, that the Bible gives us ready-made answers? Mm-hmm. Because God changed his mind here and God changed his mind there. The biblical God, let me say.
Yeah.
Changed his mind here. And then the Bible says, I am yesterday, God is yesterday, today, and will be forever. Yet God changed his mind.
Yeah, God changed his mind. God changed his mind from saying, well, you are a people who are linked by blood and DNA, to saying, well, you're no longer linked by blood and DNA. Just convert and say that you're a Jew, and by faith you become a Jew. God changed his mind to that.
Queen.
Yeah.
Jesus in the character that they gave us, Jesus went into his genealogy. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jesus went in I think in Matthew chapter 1. Jesus went into his genealogy. Those who were before him. So my thing is this, Quint. If all of this began, I mean, forget Israel, forget the Garden of Eden. Civilization began in Africa.
But Johnny,
Yeah.
Pause just a second there. This name Africa, that isn't the name of Africa.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And I said that because of the statement you just made when you said the Garden of Eden. The name that Africa had, the place that we now call Africa had, that was given by black people indigenously was Al-Kubulan. Right? And that means the Garden of Eden.
Right. But you see now, and this is why I'm saying now, Quint, if we know all of this, how can we believe something, a literature that was placed in a book by the last comers, the last people that came upon this planet through genocide and atrocity? Now, pertaining to what is happening in Sudan, Quint, I spoke about this earlier this year. I touched on that earlier, that the UAE is supplying these Arab-looking Africans to slaughter Sudanese that look like me and you, Quint.
Yeah.
I spoke of it earlier this year. You see, now all of these things that am I supposed to feel sorry for what is happening in the UAE right now?
Yeah,
I'm not even concerned.
You're supposed to feel sorry for them. You notice in the news when, for instance, with the war is happening in Iraq, and you might hear 6 soldiers were killed and 100 and something Iraqis died. You see the difference?
Yeah. And it was 300,000 Sudanese were slaughtered.
Yeah.
Slaughtered by these Arab-looking, whether you call them Africans or not, the same type of people that Mohammed Bazoum looked like, and in his DNA.
But all of that is part of the divide and conquer. They made sure that historically they began to, because when they saw what was in Egypt, and they did not want to admit that what was in Egypt came from Nubians or black people, they started to make sure that there was an influx of these lighter shade people. And then they gave them rights, and they gave them autonomy, and they said, you are the owners now. And then they gave them the leeway to go and slaughter the Nubians.
Yeah,
those are the historical facts.
They created a Middle East.
Yeah.
They created a Middle East, but there's no Middle West. There's no Middle North or South.
No.
They created a Middle East.
Yeah.
Europe, Britain, and France.
Yeah.
You know? And they said, these are the Israelites. This is the New Jerusalem. I mean, our people, our history means nothing. We don't have an identity. We have to convert. We have to become.
Yeah.
As if we don't know who we were. We have to convert to Christianity, Muslim. Now, that's why I say, we had the Chinese enclavers, we would have been Buddhas.
Yeah.
We don't know our identity. We are Christians.
But Buddha in its true representation is a black god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Quint, I'm saying all that to say this, right? That we I don't even want to say that we forget. But it's like we don't have an identity. We float. We go along with something that somebody indoctrinates us into. As if.
And that tells you, Journey, what Marcus Garvey and so many others say. People who forget their history is like a tree without roots. And if you forget your history, you're doomed to do what?
Repeat it again.
Yeah.
And, Quint, we are the seed. They're being harvested in the harvest. But we are the seed. We are the tree that bends and never breaks. But what are we? Where are we, Quint? Our reality is before us, and Our leaders, I remember when the European Union saying that they're encouraging young people to become leaders in their countries, but only for young people to be manipulated by them.
Yeah.
They have sown a seed for young leaders to now take leadership. But no, they are just being manipulated by Europe and America.
Why is it
in the Caribbean?
Why is it, Journey, that whenever they pick our leaders and they school them, that those leaders just give them what they want? And when once in a blue moon you find a leader who says, like Chavez in Venezuela, and like the way back Shah who they displaced, says, mind you, all those people said was we wanted to own what is ours. That's all they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and you killed them.
The late Mugabe was selected by them, but when Mugabe wake up and recognize, land was taken by the colonial system in Zimbabwe, when he start taking back the land from the whites in Zimbabwe, they turn against Mugabe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, our people don't know these things, and are we just lazy that our reality, we just in this system and we go along with it without questioning it? Why is it we are at the tail when... And you see, this is why I want to highlight this, Quint. The Bible gave us ready-made answers, and we are comfortable with these ready-made answers. When you should be the head, you are the tail. When you should be the lender, you are the borrower.
Yeah.
And look at us. That is what is keeping us there. Mm-hmm. Because we know what we have. We don't value what we have. When we in the diaspora in the Caribbean, we are entitled to the resources that Europe and America has created generational wealth on. And we have given them time to vindicate themselves, but they put in the book.
But hear this.
Let this sin, just a minute, Quint, just a minute. They said in their literature, let this sin be on us and on our generation unborn.
Yeah.
And Christian community going to do this. In what context? They're going to ask in what context. What is our reality? Are we not the borrower? Are we not the hewer of wood and drawer of waters? When the creation give us everything. You mentioned earlier, I think Greg said that the Jews were able to sustain themselves, but God punished them. Well, God himself punished Pharaoh for enslaving the Egyptian. But where is the God today for all that is going on? And when is this God is going to punish Europeans for enslaving Africans? These are questions the Christian community failed to ask.
I think that is one of the problems. We're waiting. If we sit down, look, people don't like when I speak. If we sit down waiting for this God to save us, we're doomed. Mm-hmm. We're doomed.
Yeah.
Right. But
God that destroyed Pharaoh for enslaving his people. He's going to destroy. Well, I'm not going to call for him to destroy Europe and America for enslaving us. But when this God now is going to put forth his hand and let justice be done for the enslavement of Africans.
I wanted to speak to that part that you spoke about, reparations and paying back. Even though I agree that I agree with reparations being paid and so forth, I am very suspicious of our leaders, whether in the Caribbean and in Africa. Because Journey, when our leaders start to sing from the same book, ask yourself a question. You understand? And all of a sudden, when they're saying we want reparations, the question is, what do you want it for? Will it be disseminated to your people, or do you want it so that you can live your lavish life and smatter it down and the people are still impoverished? But here's what I'm going to say. I agree with reparations, but here's what I want us to do. We have survived 400 years and counting of servitude. We are still existing. We have shown the world that we are the most innovative race on the planet. We need to continue to do what we have been doing and strive. In the meantime, while they're waiting and they're saying, oh, we're not going to give, let's not wait for them to give us any reparations. Let's develop ourselves, because, Johnny, we might find ourselves in a position when they want to pay us reparations and we say, you know what, keep it. We don't need it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Quint, I thank you for engaging in that, but let me see if anybody else want to comment.
Yeah. Yeah. So there it is. So don't get me wrong. I mean, we've suffered a lot. They've lived and enriching themselves off of the sweat of our foreparents, and I believe we're entitled to reparations. But I'm not one of those who's going to sit down and wait for reparations. By the sweat of your brow you eat bread. So go out there and sweat, as we have been sweating from the days of our descendants to now, and we will achieve. We have achieved. We have achieved so much, and we are still achieving. Unfortunately, what we achieve, they just feel that they are entitled to it. Everything that we do, they come and they claim it as their own, and then they push us aside. Look at a simple example. We are the ones who created all these different genres of music and that kind of stuff and so forth. And look at the clubs now, most of the clubs you see, and all of those DJs, and look at the color of their skin. And why is it that we created this and you don't even have the wherewithal to say, okay, we will employ some of your DJs. You barely can see, if you look at all those clubs and all those DJs, if you happen to see 10 black ones, you see a lot. But it is our music. It is everything that we've invented. But they just feel that they have a right to it. For whatever reason. Hello, caller. Well, we're winding down. 53. We're fast approaching the end of another stint. And as per usual, it has been enlightening. Thanks for those of you who have engaged. And like I've said on so many occasions, my aim is not to come here and ruffle feathers. My aim is to bring the facts and bring history, especially history, so that you can look. If Quint says something and you disagree or you want to rile against Quint, look in the history book. Hello, caller.
Greetings and love.
Yep.
Prince.
Yep.
Man, Queen, you know. Welcome again, you know.
Yep. Same to you.
Nearly take bit for you this morning, you know. Up on island, you know.
Yeah, but I don't have a bald head.
No, me talk about like I hear you last week and just tuning in, you know what I mean? Yes, I say, wow, how come Queen sound like this morning, boy?
Well, I won't be on island here anymore. That is Biff's program now.
Right.
Yeah.
Respect, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. We know ourselves and we're developing ourselves is the way forward, you know?
Yeah.
So who are we? You know? Because I just say earlier, like, we're not really an African, because African us too, you know? But we're doing a little research and they say we get the name Africa come from the Berber tribe called I-Free, you know? So I guess it's the way they get
well, we're not going to even go there. We're going to go with what we know was historically there before, Al-Kebu land.
Al-Kebu land.
Yes.
But when I say Rasta, you see Rasta, here's a place we call the Giza Plateau, where the pyramid them and the Sphinx is. And in the ancient time, they used to call it Soka, S-O-K-E-R, you know, which is in interpretation mean the land of Rasta, you know, because I identity Rasta, we are the Rasta people, you know, because in the Bible, it talk about the Almighty, you know, because the man say God is a spirit, but spirit don't got here. Yeah. So he here and here is like pure wool and you know, sucker African. We the only one, you know, we the only one with woolly here, you know. So it's showing you that we are the human being God created. You know what I mean? In his likeness and image. you know, and the rest races born from we, they born from we. But the Father create I and I as a, you know what I mean, as a people. So that is why we and him look alike, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of we knowing ourselves and we developing ourselves, we have to look forward to how we wasn't the people were looking for progress on the outside. These were things that we were looking from on the inside, because there are two worlds, you know, there are the outside world and the inside world. You know, we came from the inside world.
But we have to be careful of statements like that, because when we say, I hear you, but when we say we're not looking at the outer world, we're looking at things, that's what they use against us, because then they say, so why are you concerned about development and advancement and that kind of stuff? You're supposed to just be spiritual, you know?
No, but he ain't no queen, right? The development must be guided by a spiritual mind. See? Because if you look at the development we have today, right, it's just the development of the built environment, you know what I mean? Good road. And, you know what I mean, that is a part of it, right? But the greater part is the development of the people, because a human being ain't just like a robot, you know. A human being is like a God. It's what the Bible is trying to say. Your body is the temple of God, and your character supposed to be in a line with the body there, like the God, you know what I mean? But because of the outside world, the outside materialism, which is what I call the vanity of life, you see, that is where we move the meditation from the inside, the inner you. So there is no connection no more with you, who you really are, which is on the inside, because who you really are is on the inside of yourself, right? But who you are trying to be, that's the outside, you know what I mean? Outside be where you're trying to place yourself within the scheme of things and within the world. You know what I mean? But it's first, we have to be with true self, which is the African root, you know what I mean? We have to forward ourselves and found ourselves on that foundation there, you know. And meantime, look, all he seems to do with the outside world, all he seems to do is destruction, and it's total destruction, because they're investing in things like AI, they're investing in things like nuclear weaponry and AI weaponry, and you know what I mean?
But I'm also, like I said, I hear you, but I'm also saying we cannot alienate ourselves from the outside world, because it is our habitat. It is where we live. It is where we exist. So I hear you loud and clear that the spiritual being must be at a certain level, and then it will influence the external to move a certain way. I hear you. Remember, I'm on your same level, but I'm saying we have to be very careful when we speak to our young people, because we must. You see how I can explain it just like that? A lot of our young people can't. They just hear you say, well, don't bother with the outer world, and they're thinking, oh, well, don't bother with the material things. But the material things are also important. It's just that the material things must never be put on a level where it overrides and overrules the human and the human importance. And that is the way we're living today. The material. That's what I'm saying. I hear you. I agree with you.
So it's like in knowing ourselves, we have to come back to that foundation. Because when you look into the history of African people, right? The history of African people wasn't about just the material. They know that, but they had something greater than that they was aspiring to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just the material. You know what I mean? Because the material that we see outside us is a result of what happened inside.
Look,
you know what I mean? The outside is showing on it.
It is because our foreparents were so linked with the internal that they could have built those pyramids, and up to today, no one can explain them.
And the Dogons who could have tell you about how the Cyrus B star and all of these things are situated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and what I'm saying, even up to today, even within Rastafari, where we can tell you, well, Empire Haile Selassie is God, and the man will say, how come you're going to say Haile Selassie is God? I don't believe no man is not God. You know what I mean? We're going to be God. You know what I mean? It's like God can't be the way. See?
Anyway, you tuned in late. We're 1 minute over time.
Respect my love,
Cool runnings. Take care.
Respect.
Yeah. And we have come to the end of another presentation of Voices for today. Thank you for your enlightenment, your indulgence. And like I said, my aim is to enlighten you. My aim is not to, well, to some extent I want to agitate you. I want to rile you up, but not in a negative way. I want to rile up your imagination. I want to stimulate your thought process so that you don't take life for granted.
We're different. We're 98.9.